Hi, welcome to Author Pep Talk. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the questions that folks have when they first start out. The number one question that I get is, what do I do now? I have this idea, or I want to write a book, but I don't know what to do. And my first answer to that is always, if you want to write for kids, join SCBWI. And that stands for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. It's a international organization, and that's why I have Jodi McKay here with me today. She is the co-regional advisor for this area, for Michigan in particular. I'm in Michigan, and so is Jodi, so that's really cool. And I think that it's really important because I've been a member of SCBWI for, I think, 12 years, and I learned something new every day of what's there, what's offered, or by taking a class or going to a conference or whatever. So, welcome, Jodi.
Hi, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. This is it's a good opportunity, right, to talk a little bit about a community that is meant to support creators. So this should be
Yeah,
fun.
great. And first off, I want to thank you because most people don't realize that, at least at the regional level, everybody who runs the organization at this level is a volunteer, right?
Yep. Yes,
So
we are.
you all give a lot of time and energy just to give back and just to help other writers and illustrators get going or keep going. Tell us a little bit about the organization and why people should join, the who, what, when, where.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, it feels, yes, it is volunteer work, right? And it can be a lot, but it feels like a privilege to be able to help people navigate an industry that's very difficult. Um, and like you said, SCBWI, which at the best of times is a mouthful. It's hard to say sometimes. But it really is the go-to, like that most creators want to become involved in, because I think it really is meant to support authors, illustrators, translators, advocates, librarians, even editors, agents, everybody. We're all kind of in this network where we help each other in different ways, whether we're volunteers or not. And it's a place where people can go to learn, to seek support, to do more for their what they're passionate about, right? Whether they want to present, whether they want to promote themselves and their books and their work. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, I would say, for anything related to children's literature. It can be overwhelming at times because it is like you said, global. It's a global community, right? Which is very cool when you think about it, but then it can also feel overwhelming too. But that's why it's nice to, break it down into certain regions, so each state has their own stuff that they do. We're still all SCBWI. But like I'm the co-RA for Michigan, and there's several other regional teams all over the place. And we have our own conferences, we hold our own webinars, we have free events. It's really about accessibility too. So I think, when I would first talk to somebody about joining SCBWI, the community is always the first thing that pops up. But there's also a matter of convenience. There's resources at your fingertips, right? So if you get onto the website, you can go to resources and see, the essential book for publishing for children, right? And it has all the information for the most part that you would want to know, of what you need to write a query letter, what a plot is, who you might want to send your query letter to, how you market yourself. I mean, it's a giant book full of information that you get as a member. There's, of course, also continuing education opportunities. So SCBWI overall, we have the big conferences. You have the New York conference and the summer conference where there's big name faculty members. I mean, people that you would know from books that you read as a child all the way up till now. that go there and they share their knowledge and experience because they want to help people write the best possible books they can because the books that we're writing are for children. And we want to put out the best product possible because that's what matters at this point. Kids need stories that help them learn about life, learn about other people, learn about themselves too. So the products that we put out there have to be top notch. And so the faculty that we get to learn from help people do that, which is, I think, is wonderful. They do that at conferences, they do that in webinars, and in any meetings that we have that are available on the website at all times, which is kind of cool. Another thing that I think is important for people to realize is that, SCBWI does make an effort to make things as accessible as possible. There's two different types of memberships. You can be a premium member, which is the paid membership, and yes, it does offer you some advantages. But you can also be a preview member. So if you're not really quite sure and you just want to check it out and see what's available, it would be free. So you can still get on, you can still attend some of the webinars, and still see some of the resources to see if it is something that works for you. There's also tons of grants and scholarships. So if you were to go to, let's say, the main page, right, and go to submissions and showcases is what it's called. There's a section that says awards and grants. Excuse me. There's awards and grants for illustrators, for authors, for published, for pre-published. There's tons of different opportunities for people to either receive a membership, to receive help for a work in progress. So that's kind of, I think, a good resource as well. Each region has in-person events and virtual options as well. So if you can't necessarily drive, hours away to go to a conference, they still have webinars online because we want people to learn in whatever way they possibly can. So accessibility is definitely something that I think is really, really important and helpful for a lot of people. Visibility, one, I think, is something that we don't really think of that often, but it's true. When you become a member, you have different ways to market yourself that maybe you hadn't thought of before. We all know it's very, very difficult, to market, get on social media, and some people are really great at it. Some people, like myself, are not good at it at all. But the website offers a few different opportunities. You can, if you're an illustrator, there's the Illustrator Gallery where you can put your work on there and people can scroll through and see. And people, by that I mean like art directors or agents, can look at it as well. There's the member bookstore that people can go and put their book on. There's, I think, it's Bookshop. That is another opportunity for people to put their work up there, and people can go and buy books through SCBWI from members. There's also the opportunity to become a presenter if you really want to present at a conference, or like we have our free events in Michigan. If you want to try out a presentation because you eventually want to present at a conference, there's options to do that as well. So, there's ways to get your face out there in front of the crowd, and establish yourself a little bit more within the community. And then the
Yeah, I'm learning
community.
new things still. Keep going.
Oh,
So much.
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
learning new stuff still.
Yeah, there's lots to learn. Like I said, it can be very overwhelming, but if you kind of break it into different parts, it feels more manageable. And by different parts, I mean, sometimes you just start out with what's happening within your particular region and you work through, what they're doing there. And then, you move on to what's going on more so within the larger SCBWI. But what I've found is, like, within the community, is that there is somebody that's always willing to help you figure those things out, because everyone knows how overwhelming it could be. Um,
That's one thing that really amazes me is how giving this community is. And I often wonder if other writing communities are like that, like adult writing communities. I kind of doubt it. But there's always, like you said, somebody there who's willing to give back and willing to help. One quick question. Are, is there a regional group for every region or for every state? Does everybody have some local kind of organization to join?
Of SCBWI?
Yes.
Yes. So, yes, everybody has a region and
Okay.
even other countries. So
Okay. Good.
in some states, there's multiple regions just
Okay.
because they're larger states, like California and Texas and the South, right?
Okay.
So if someone were to want to figure out what their region is,
Mm-hmm.
they would go to the main SCBWI page, and at the very top, it says About, and they would click on that. And that's where you would see things like SCBWI's mission, reports, gift cards, and then it says Global Regions. And so you would want to click on that, and then it shows
Okay.
you
Good.
by state, and then you can click on your state, and then that would take you to their web page so that you could find out, who is the regional team there. Who would you want to reach out to if you have questions? What is that region doing? Do they have events that you'd be interested in? Uh,
Nice.
do they offer their own scholarships? Because a lot of regions offer their own scholarships and programs like mentorship programs, anything like that. So I feel like that would be a good place to start,
Mhm.
is reaching out to your region's particular RA or co-RA, and seeing how you can plug into what they're doing. Because that's something that we want to do. We want to help people understand the benefits of SCBWI, but make it feel like approachable, like it's not just this huge kind of vague and ambiguous sort of organization that is like, okay, we want to put out children's books. It's so much more than that, and we understand that it can be a little bit daunting and scary. So we want to help people figure out where their place is in that. Um,
That's awesome. Yeah. That I think when I talk to people that ask how to get started, I always forget to tell them to start with their local region, because that I think is a great tip you had there to not be quite so overwhelmed, right? It reminds me of going to a big university and saying, "This is too big. There's too many people," but you have your dorm, right? You have your own little community that within that big organization, and then you might branch out. Um, I didn't do it that way, and I wish I had. I started
mhm.
right out
Same.
of the gate going to New York to the national conference, and
Oh,
that was my first introduction, and it was fabulous. I met a lot of people, but I think just because I started a little Facebook group for newbies, so anybody who was going who hadn't been before, we met up, and so I met a lot of people that way. But if I had just jumped in, I would have just been staring into space and watching people, and instead getting involved with a smaller group first. That tip was perfect.
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, yes, it feels like a lot. And I did the same thing. I mean, I didn't go to the New York conference. I give you a lot of credit for doing that, having to first gone in. But, when I first started, I just, I kind of Googled,
Yep.
I want to write. What do I do now? Whatever it was. And it really was SCBWI that popped up.
Yeah.
And, but I started right away just in like their main website, and it did feel very overwhelming. And it took me a second to be like, oh, okay, there's regions, there's smaller communities within this large community, that, I can reach out to and get involved in as well. And getting involved actually was something that made it feel more like home, right?
I
So
bet.
by going to some of the free, like the shop talks is what we have here. They're free meetups, basically once a month, in different parts throughout the state, to get to know people, right? And to understand what, the presentations were about. It felt accessible to me. It felt better, to go about it that way. So yes, I would for sure start at that smaller level, and then ask, just say, what would the next steps be? Where should I go from here so I can reap all the benefits of what SCBWI has? Because there are many, for
Yeah.
sure.
aside from just, like you said, the classes to learn craft and the to learn about marketing and promoting, and aside from that, to me, the most important or one of the most important parts is the community. So, like you said, feeling like you belonged to that group and finding out that. Oh, I have this imposter syndrome, but so does everybody else. Or, oh, I have this fear of rejection, but so does everybody else. And to have other people to commiserate with and to learn from, how do you deal with all of that stuff? It just makes it feel like, okay, I am a writer, right? Because a lot of us have a hard time at the beginning believing that this is a real thing. This is something I really want to do, and I'm going to make it happen.
For sure, and that's one of SCBWI's values is that you don't have to do this alone because it feels like a lot. And we're all sitting in our own space. Like I have like my office where I'm sitting by myself and just writing. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way because there's questions that pop up, or if I need someone to read my work, like get it critiqued. There's people that are willing and want to do that. They want to help, and so it's essential to reach out and find your people. Like we just had our spring conference, right? This past spring, and we had a session. It was a pitch session where people, they sent in their pitches, and then we had an agent and an editor listen. We read them out loud, and then they provided feedback right away. And there was this one point that I stopped, and I was like, there is no other place that we can sit and talk about like how a cow, wants to jump over a moon and how is that cow going to do that? Or like, like weird things, like having these conversations that would be so abnormal to other people, but to us, it's like it's meaningful. And we're like, yes, so you're surrounded by your people because there's a comfort level there. It's not just asking the questions, it's knowing that there's people that really understand why you have characters talking in your head at 3 o'clock in the morning, or what it means to add heart into your story, or how to build tension in that third act. How are you going to talk to like your wife or your husband or your kids about that? No one else is going to get it except your
Nope.
people.
Yeah.
So it's so essential, to find folks that can have that conversation with you. And that's why this community, we kind of keep coming back to that word, but it truly is,
Yeah.
um, such a special group that you're right. Maybe I don't know if adult writers do it as well, but for
Mhm.
sure, the Kidlit community is very special and unique in how supportive we are of each other.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I think that it has to be one of the most important things as far as I'm concerned in this whole journey is the camaraderie and the togetherness stuff, that feeling of community. We keep using that word. I can't think of a better word, but it just
No,
is. It's you feel like you said, like you have your people, right? And I don't feel weird when I'm walking around doing rhymes with a march because I'm
yeah.
trying to get the rhyme right. You would understand, but nobody
Yeah.
else will. My husband
I'd be
thinks
like,
I'm
sure,
crazy.
I'll march with you.
That's right. So anyway, is there any specific thing that sticks out to you that either happened to you or happened to someone else who joined SCBWI that you think was really like, wow, that really proves why we're here, why this organization is so important?
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, it's the book deals, right?
Yeah.
So, we do like the critique carousel every year, which
Mhm.
is it's basically, we have about 10 different faculty members, agents, editors, art directors, who critique work. People send in their work in progress. And people have received representation and book deals from that, and anytime it happens at a conference too, it's like it's such a good feeling because it's so hard otherwise, to get that, to have that happen. So if we can make it a little bit easier and provide those opportunities and see like that they do actually happen, that always just, I'm like, oh, okay, great, like a fist bump, high five myself kind
Yeah.
of situation, because it's so hard otherwise. There's different things that I think are hard to do without being part of this group. It's like you can go out there and get yourself a school visit, right? You could try. I mean, it's difficult, but also if you can be part of an organization where they promote you so that because librarians and teachers, they know to go to SCBWI if they're looking for somebody.
Yeah.
And you get school visits that way, so there's something that, I think is really helpful. Conferences, at the last Marvelous Midwest conference, it's a lot of work, right? But it's so wonderful seeing people come together and like seeing things click on their faces when they're listening to somebody. We had Gary Schmidt provide a keynote, and there were tears because when you're moved in such a way and you're doing it with other people, that like kind of collaboration of emotion is, I think, is pretty incredible to be around, to be a part of. And to have them come up and say, wow, that was amazing, and to feel that same way too, that energy that it kind of goes back and forth throughout the room with all these people feeling the same thing is really kind of cool. And something else we did there too, I'll have to send you a picture of it, is neat. We did a gratitude wall
Oh, no.
where, it's kind of like we are grateful for, and then people could go and put post-its of things, write what they were grateful for. And it was so moving to see, it was a lot of, being together, learning from this person, being next to this. It was people truly want to be together. And so, when we can build that, create that for them to where they're not just learning, that's obviously important, or marketing themselves or selling their books or, but they're together. That's always been a highlight of anything I've ever done, as a volunteer, as an RA for this region and for SCBWI in general.
That's awesome. Yeah, the energy, like you said, at those events, and you go home with a renewed sense of, I am doing the right thing.
Mhm.
This is real for me. But I want to hear a little bit about you and
Yeah.
your work. Tell me about your work and maybe what's coming next if you have anything to share.
Well, geez, Cindy, I'm not really great about I'm like not great about talking about myself. No, it's still on this journey that is, it's evolving all the time, So I write picture books, I write middle grade novels, so I'm really trying to get that out there as well. So it's just kind of, I'm in it on a daily basis, just, sitting and, typing away just like everybody else. And when I'm not doing that, I'm working on stuff for the region. We're planning ahead for the next couple of years, what we're going to do. So that's kind of exciting too, right? Because all right, so we want to do this type of conference or this type of webinar, and it gets kind of exciting. And that does take quite a bit of time. So that's my time as well. And then also we talked about earlier, my son is a senior, so that's taking up some space too. But creatively, I do make an effort every day to sit and write something. And whether that's, critiquing, because I do have a critique group, um, or, writing stuff for myself. That's pretty much the day in the life of Jodi McKay. Very interesting and fun.
Oh, very interesting. And like
Yes.
I said, I learned more even today, even after 12 years. There's just so much out there and so much to learn. And then there's Facebook sites too that help to pull people in, right? And
Yeah.
I'll put all the links down below so you'll all have something to look at. And here's Jodi's books, so you can check those out as well. And thanks so much for joining me and helping us learn a little bit more about SCBWI and how it can help you if you're interested in writing Kidlit.
Course. And if anyone has any questions, whether they're members already or they're not sure and they just want to get a little bit more information, they're more than welcome to email me. My email is on the SCBWA website. So I'm happy to help in any way. And obviously, I just want to thank you for doing this type of podcast, because, like you said, it's kind of the place that you want to start, right? Is getting involved with this type of community. So if there's any way to help people learn more about that, I think that's really important. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.